Joel Makower, Chairman and Executive Editor at GreenBiz Group. I'm here with Rich Madison, the CEO of Trucost. Rich, we tried this time to do something different in the State of Green Business Report, one of which was a terrific partnership with you. But together we looked at the world of sustainable business in a slightly different lens, something that had never been done before. Talk about what that was.
So this year we really did three things that were different. We looked at the environmental impacts of America's companies against the global companies, and this is about 1,600 major global companies. And we looked since 2007 onwards to the current day, so in other words, just prior to the global financial crisis onwards, to see what happened to the environmental performance of those companies, the environmental reporting of those companies, and what those companies were discussing. And the third thing that we did was we looked at how you might create an analysis of natural capital for US companies versus global companies. So how you put a price on nature, what companies' dependency is on ecosystem services, and actually how much that amounts to in dollar terms.
So that last part, that looking at the world of business through the lens of natural capital, why is that new? Why hasn't that ever been done before?
Because it's difficult to do. So essentially, it's not been done because in the academic world, there's been a huge amount of work for the past 30 or 40 years on ways of valuing nature. But in a business context, it's not really been done so much. There are a few key examples of businesses that have led the way, I would say. But across the board, it's quite difficult to understand the value of nature, the economic invisibility of nature, as Prince Charles would put it. And that's because you have to understand the hidden cost, if you like, the price we're not paying in normal market conditions for things such as water.
So we're measuring what business would have to pay to be in business and use the resources and create the emissions if it was charged those fully and had to pay that out of its own resources.
Yeah, that's correct. So let me give you an example. You would imagine that for oil, you pay a price for oil as if it was, which would reflect the scarcity of that oil, which is roughly true in global markets today. You'd also imagine that for water, the same would exist. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So for water, there's actually a negative correlation between the price of water and how scarce that water is locally. So what that really means is that when we're making shirts and things like that require a lot of embedded water in this product here, a lot of water required to grow cotton, we're not paying the true cost, the real price that we should be paying for that water. And that drives all, in a way, drives all the wrong behavior. It means we use more of something that is scarce because it's not factored into global markets.
So in this report, as we go through and look at the various metrics, and look at the true costs, the actual environmental costs for the resources, for the emissions, what's the key message that we're going to see delivered?
Well, the key message is I think businesses need more information about the resources they're using, how scarce those resources are becoming, and what they can do about it. And that's really an information gap. And so one of the things that is really going to affect our global markets going forward is to factor that information, that additional information, into our markets so that we correct the behavior that we've observed for the past 20, 30 years. In other words, we need to use resources more sustainably. How do we do that? We need to, first and foremost, have more information about the state of nature and how that nature is valuable and what the value of that is, so that we can make trade-off decisions, we can understand where we need to consume resources and where we don't need to consume resources, where we need to protect our environment more. Because if you put a price on nature, you can go to boards and you can say this is the value of nature relative to our profit, relative to our revenue, and a whole raft of different financial measures, and it suddenly becomes that much more important.